Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Baker Demers. I'm the Executive Director of Children's Scholarship Fund in New Hampshire, and we are so lucky to have Governor Sununu in New Hampshire. He's such a champion for children and a supporter of the Education Freedom Account. I'm also so happy to be here with you, coming from New Hampshire, but with all of you also from New York City. Tonight, I have the honor of interviewing our very special guest, Virginia Walden Ford. As a student, a mother, an advocate, and a grandmother, Virginia has spent her lifetime fighting to expand educational opportunities for children and families. While she was raising her 3 children in Washington, D.C., Virginia was shocked that so many children were forced to attend failing, crumbling schools simply because they lived in the wrong zip code. In fact, she was worried that her own son, William, was falling through the cracks of a system that wasn't focused on the best interests of children. In 1998, she formed a grassroots organization called DC Parents for School Choice. Then in 2003, with the support of national education organizations and lawmakers, Virginia and her courageous group of parent advocates succeeded in convincing Congress and President George Bush to enact the nation's first ever Opportunity Scholarship Program for low-income children in DC. Her fight for education freedom inspired the 2019 movie, Miss Virginia, which is available on Netflix.
Thank you so much, Kate, for having me. I have to compose myself a minute. As soon as I see those clips of the movie, I go right back to that moment.
Well, that was my first question. What did it feel like to have your life made into a movie?
It's an amazing experience. I love it. I love that the voice of parents is heard through this film. I'm honored that it was about my son and myself, but it's about all parents. There were thousands of parents that were in the same circumstance that I was in and tried to use their voices and oftentimes were dismissed. So when the film came out, I was not only happy about our story being told, and my son is just ecstatic, but I was happy that a story of parents with power and courage and commitment to their children could be a story as well. And so it's been a really good experience. It's been more than I could have ever hoped for. I never thought that our voices would ever be heard, and they are. Parents.
And can you tell us a little bit more about that time, when you were worried about your son, William, you wanted to get him into a better school. I mean, how did that really lead you into, starting really what became an entire movement in DC?
He was William. In the movie, his name was James, but his name is William. I try to tell people that. He tells me, "Mom, please tell him my name is William," but in the movie, they changed his name. He was a great kid. He was smart. He had a lot going for him, but nobody saw that but me, his mama. And I watched him get pulled into the street. I watched him skipping school, not being interested. And when I say, "William, why are you behaving this way?" He would say, "They don't care. Nobody cares about me anyway. So I'm not going to waste their time by going to school." And it got progressively worse over the years to the point where I realized that I had to do something. I was his mother. I had to speak up for my child. I had to make sure that he didn't fall through the cracks. That was my job. I knew him better than everybody else, and I was not going to allow the rest of the world to put him in this box, that they oftentimes put particularly poor kids in, or children of single parents, or kids that have been in trouble in some way, shape, or form. They put them in a little box, and that's where they keep them. I couldn't let that happen. But in fighting for William, I started talking to other parents in the community in my neighborhood, and they were feeling the same thing. And it became really clear to us over a period of time that all of us were afraid for our kids. All of us needed to use our voices to let somebody know we didn't know what to do. We didn't even know where to start, but we stood together, shoulder to shoulder. I worked with amazing parents who were committed and were ready to fight for their children. And our rallying call was we know our kids. We know what they need. And we're going to tell anybody that would listen, which is kind of what we did. Anybody that would listen. We went to meetings, we went to events, we crashed all kinds of places and told them, you have got to do something about our children's education. Our kids are failing. During that time, um, thousands and thousands of kids were failing in low income communities in DC, and we saw it. And what happens in inner cities oftentimes is when kids fell in school, they get pulled into destructive things. And the drug dealers in our community, they were just sitting back waiting for our kids to fail so that they could pull them into negative influences. So we knew we formed an army of parents that were willing to stand up and take chances to be heard, make sacrifices. And so it became one mother's voice that turned into the voice of thousands. It was amazing.
Well, it's that scene we watched where you were nervous about speaking at the town hall meeting. Sometimes we go to things and have to speak before people. And I know a lot of parents are nervous sometimes about doing that. Can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about how you overcame any fear that you had and how you really, it just got up the guts to do it as a mom? I mean, you're just a regular mom, right? You think to yourself, like, what can I do,
Okay. I was the behind the scenes mom. I was like, okay, y'all go up front and do stuff. But it became clear that I had to do something. I am still a nervous speaker, still. But when I'm talking about children and when I'm talking about the opportunities that we have to make world better for our kids, the words come. They you ask me to speak about anything else, I still get nervous. Ask me to talk about children and what we have to do to make sure they get everything they need, and I become a speaker, because it's my passion. When I look at the children around the country and I talk to parents, and I know it's a lot of parents on this call who have made the same commitment to their children. They just have to find their voice. But that voice will come when you have a bunch of people looking at you saying, you're a low income mother. You can't do anything for your child. You need to just be quiet. It makes me angry, and I think that's what brings out the ability to be able to talk about it. In that clip, which actually happened, those people were just making me mad, and the kinds of things they were saying about our kids, and our kids have to wait, and our kids have we had been waiting for years for something to change in DC public schools, and I was tired of waiting, and I was watching my child fail, and I was watching him be pulled into terrible situations, and I think I just got mad, you know, and I believed then, and I believe now that we have to fight harder than anybody. We are our children's advocates. If we don't advocate for them, no one else will. I guarantee it. Actually, we were told that. Oh, y'all not gonna last long. You won't be around long. I'm sure you're gonna, stop doing this in a couple of weeks. The more they told us we couldn't do it, the more we did.
Well, and I know I noticed, like the schools closing and the pandemic really changed the discussion in general. So I'm just wondering, how do you think that's changed kind of school choice in general? Or, what do you see as kind of the biggest obstacle to, families having school choice available to their kids?
Kate, actually, I've been really um, encouraged by what I've seen in legislatures all around the country. Um, and I've also been encouraged. I have had the most fun for 2 years talking to parents. I've talked to thousands of parents on Zoom, so I should really know how to do Zoom really well, and I don't. But it's been great hearing the power of the parent voice, hearing how involved they have become in their children's educational experience. The questions they asked. People found me on Facebook, and that was fine. I enjoyed it. And I believe that parents in the last couple of years during the pandemic, we have had to really face all those things that were happening with our children educationally. And we have learned. I am so proud and so excited for the parents that I've seen all over the country that have used their voices and raised themselves up and said, okay, kids out of school, I'm gonna teach them and I'm gonna do fine. And all the encouragement that we've been able to give them, those of us that have been around for a long time, comes back to us tenfold when we see how well they're doing. I am so impressed with parent power. I'm I can't even tell you how happy I am to be here tonight. Not just celebrating National School Choice, we've been celebrating parents who have courage and guts and are going to stand up for their children. It really reminds me of when we got started a little bit. There were thousands of parents around the country that were fighting for their children. And then there was a little lull where they told us, we don't need you parents. And then they realized they need us bad. We are the voices of children. We are the voices of cities, and communities, and neighborhoods. And so I'm very encouraged with it. 13 school choice programs passed in legislatures around the state in 13 states, and that was encouraging to me. There were a couple of programs that were enhanced. That was very exciting. Every time I turned last January to about May, every time I turned on TV, there was a new program being passed in some legislature, and I actually testified in a couple, and it was just so exciting. So we're getting it. They're getting it, but we got it. Parents are amazing. Parents are the rock of school choice. We are the ones that fight for our babies to have a better educational experience in this country. I told parents in DC a number of years ago, I'll be here. I'm getting old. I'll be here until you don't need me anymore. I, I'm going to be here until they don't need me anymore. And but it's still as exciting as it was then. My fears for speaking just went away when I realized that my voice could make a difference. And that's what most of us don't know. We don't realize that our voices make changes, they make a difference. And when I heard that in my head, that what you're saying, somebody's listening to that can make a difference in your child's life, I started talking more.
Thank you so, so much for being here with us. Thank you
Oh,
so
you
much for your voice and your encouragement, your encouraging words today. If you could just share one last thought with the parents that are on this call who might be learning about school choice for the first time, or might be the people who have been active this whole time. If you just leave them one last thought.
Well, the one thing that I say to parents everywhere I go is to be strong, be courageous, be hopeful, be dignified, be loving, you know. But my mantra is use your voice, stand up, speak to your legislators, speak to your local officials, tell them, I will not sit around and watch my child fail. And the more people that do it together, then you say, we will not sit around and watch our children fail. That's what we believed. We believed that at the end of the day, we would make a difference for our children, and we did. Nobody could have told me 20 years ago that we would have won. Nobody could have told me that there would be a movie about a parental fight. Nobody, you know. but it happened because the parents in DC had the courage to believe that they could stand shoulder to shoulder with people like Ted Forsman, John Walton, uh, and many others who really believed that children needed the best, they needed resources to get the best education possible. You know, that when I look back on my life and I think about all those people that made a difference, um, you know, the Children's Scholarship Fund was amazing. I love Darla, and I have, you know, watched over the years. And you know, really, if you really want to be honest, Darla, and Kate, I'm gonna answer this. One of the first things we thought about was what they would Children's Scholarship Fund. How can we, which was private money, but how can we make that something that is a publicly run program that every child will benefit from? So, you know, we had all these places, Milton Friedman, Ed Choice, all these American Federation for Children, all these organizations were speaking into my ear, you know, this parent who never, ever would have thought that I'd be even involved in anything close to this, but they were in my ear and it was lovely. You know, it was wonderful how many people believed in that little ragtag group of parents in DC that became an army. And
I
we
love it.
were an army.
I love it. Thank you so, so
Mhm.
much. I can't believe I would talk to you for 4 hours. I mean, we're out of time, but thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to chat with you. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, you can go watch Miss Virginia on Netflix. And now we're going to hear from a New Hampshire mom, Yanita, and her daughter, Eleni. Again, Virginia, thank you so, so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome and good luck, parents. Be strong. Be strong.